What's up guys, and welcome back to another IdentityV video. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at yet some more Axeboy gameplay, so I hope you all enjoy. So this first match that I'm going to feature today is on Arms Factory. Now I actually get a really good early game with Axeboy, as Axeboy kind of relies upon, but it eventually ended up being a fight between how fast mechanics decoding could be versus how fast I could keep my gameplay going. So right here I end up chasing the aeroplanist here. I find that generally Axeboy is not necessarily too picky about what survivor that you chase. Of course, he likes getting survivors that he can get downs on in only 2 hits and not more. And I think that Arrow kind of follows those conditions. He doesn't seem to mind too much about transition because his ability kind of works. Nonetheless, you can see that that flame ended up coming by at just the right time, so there's a lot that kind of has to happen, kind of luck-based, timing-based. But if things line up, you can really end up with some nasty plays that lead to a really fast down. You just have to be aware of your surroundings a lot of the time. So I end up getting this down on the arrow here, and right here, I end up getting really aggressive. So I'm right here keeping a tally, trying to keep track of where all the decoding is happening, and I was able to count that 3 ciphers were being decoded. I didn't take into account mechanic also existed, so maybe I could have counted a little better, but it worked just fine. I'm trying to be patient here. I end up almost getting this off too. But again, it's so hard to hit a survivor when they're right next to you. But being that I was past half, I was mostly concerned with rushing the rescue. And you can see that's exactly what I do. Arrow probably should have used jetpack like right off the chair, but right here, I just want to get a hit on Psychologist, and I actually get 2 for the price of the 1 that I was going for. So this is, once again, super fast gameplay here, and I go ahead and take the arrow straight back to the chair. And then from here, I am going to put the Psychologist on the chair. Now, I end up getting completely scammed here on this next chairing. I remember this match. So I get this Psychologist, and I take her right to the chair. And I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I mean, 1 survivor eliminated at 4 ciphers remaining. I mean, what more can you want? And this is tier 5 gameplay, so kind of the tier that a lot of y'all's are kind of in here, so hopefully you're getting some tips that you can take into your own matches here. So I end up getting this right here. No idea how that hits the chair. How did that not hit Fire Investigator? I have no idea. But again, I'm not getting too aggressive here. I recognize that Psychologist has the stress, and it would take 2 downs to down her again after that rescue. So I do a target change, and I'm so ahead, I think that I have enough time here. Now, the rest of the ciphers are all like 50 or above, and I kind of realize that there's some progress kind of around the map, and I see that that one's the one wiggling, and I could see it was kind of some aggressive wiggling. So I saw that there was some good progress being done there. Now he's like too far away to even make it before half, the Psychologist is, so eventually I decide to commit. I see that mechanic is still kind of decoding here. And once again, I go for those. It's so hard. That survivor actually does a good job of trying to dodge. It's a good tip for y'all that are survivor mains. When you're trying to avoid Axeboy hits, run into the hunter. And it's the same thing whenever Violinist tries to do some cheeky things. Run into the hunter, and it's going to be until you get into like the higher tiers, survivors are going to have such a hard time hitting you if you run like into their main body. So just a small little tip there for y'all that might be survivor mains here. And I see that this survivor, or this cipher that I'm on, has a lot of progress. So I'm wanting to stay in this area, and then I end up staying in this area long enough, trying to think until I get my trait back, so then I can like abnormal. And this trait is like, I mean, it's fine for me. I do a lot of target swapping here, which is something I don't usually recommend, but once again, if you notice that a survivor might take a while to go after, especially at this stage of the game, you can do a lot of target swapping. If you're target swapping before you have your first elimination, then it becomes more desperation. And mechanic stall, I like kind of get the idea just based on how fast the ciphers have been going that mechanic has definitely been using doll a lot, especially because Aeroplanus has been injured like the entire match, which makes mechanics decoding like abysmally slow. And you can see here comes the abnormal. Once that cooldown's done, I feel pretty happy about where I'm at. I don't realize that there's like so much progress on kind of the other ciphers, because I thought this gameplay has been going pretty fast, and I mean it has. So, but survivors were able to get a lot of decoding going here. You can see I'm feeling a little cheeky happy with myself. But I know that as long as I'm in the area, nobody can rescue. Even if they have the last cipher primed, there's not really anything they can do. Especially not if they don't get this rescue. And they don't. So I prioritize right here. And I could have gone maybe a little bit more aggressive for the 4K here. But I end up just turning back and going for this survivor. And I try to do a lot of flames in the way that even if they miss, the speed boost is still useful. I end up losing the survivor here. A little bit of a relatable moment. But once again, wait for them to interact, because you know that if they are going across a pallet or doing some sort of interaction, you know exactly where they're going to be for about like a half second. So as long as you have that kind of reaction time and ping that allows, you're going to be pretty happy with what you got here. And I mean, there's not much that for me to do there. That is a 3K, and that is more than okay for rank. So let's get into the second match. Now the second match is going to be on Leo's memory, and I decided to go kind of a different spawn than I usually do. Now normally what I do is I'll spawn in the bottom right in spawns like this and go for whoever's in no man's land. I decided to do this. This is probably another one of the really good spawns that you can do. Usually hunters will spawn there. Every now and then you'll get a hunter that wants to spawn in the top right, but the reason why this one is good because it gives you flexibility on who to go for. So let's go ahead and take a look and see who I decide to chase here. I'll give you a spoiler alert. It's the antiquarian here. So I'm going to move my camera back to where it was, and this antiquarian decides to go upstairs. Now she kind of lollygags around for a second. I want to see if I can get her to pull one of the flames before she goes up, but I kind of misinterpret and it ends up being a wasted tree, but not too much of an issue. I decide to go ahead and still target anyways, and I end up doing just fine here. I don't know why when I watch these recordings I still get kind of the room music at the same time for all y'all comments on that. I don't know why that happens. I've tried fixing it. But anyways, I place a tree, and a lot of times if you're kind of around that radius area, I figured she wasn't going to be expecting to need to dodge that. And Auntie decides to... Now, what a lot of higher tier survivors will do a lot of the time is they will try and... I wait for that cooldown to end again. They'll try to expect the flame coming, and they'll do that by like timing the cooldown and try to dodge at the right time. But for y'all in tiers kind of in that 1 through 5, maybe even 6 territory, survivors a lot of times aren't going to be super predictive with their gameplay. So anyways, Antiquarian is now on share here. Now this isn't necessarily the best timing for a first down, but it's certainly not bad, certainly considering what the decoding is at the moment. I was kind of thinking this was about a 3 cipher K, but I think Aesop's veiny toe may have had to rotate out of this area, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think they spent too long rotating, that's why the decoding has been so slow. But if I recall correctly, this game actually does feature going into the late game, and I kind of have to pull this from a tie into a win, because it's very tough when survivors don't go for this rescue here to actually pull something like that into a win. But you can see this in combination with the build that I kind of choose here. I go really aggressive here. So I get this, and I blink right on the survivor. Which, I mean, I'm kind of expecting to know what the survivors are going for. I think they should have gone for a rescue here. I think it would have given them more winning chances than what they had. I try to get a blind snipe here, and that doesn't hurt to go every now and then. I mean, having the speed boost was also really helpful here. And this survivor actually gets some pretty good reads here now. Aesop's Veiny Toe actually does a decent job in this area. Trying to get some predictions here, but to no avail. And you can see, based on the decoding, the survivors actually have pretty decent tie odds, and that's what kind of happens when I'm not really in a position to harass and they do a whole lot of decoding here. Now, here's something I could have done a bit more, was some disrespecting of the pallets, but I respect a lot of the pallets, and the Embalmer kind of gets the read when I'm doing that. I know I kind of have a tendency to do that. Sometimes I'll get really aggressive and go for some aggressive swings there. You usually want to do kind of like a 50-50 type of thing, that make it something that the survivor actually has to read you on. But I get a really nice snipe on this dancer here, and I end up kind of changing targets here. So kind of see where this female dancer is at, and I get a really nice down here. Now once again, I kind of see that they have two ciphers going on here, but the one that I see is right here. So here's another key point to take away, is that whenever possible, you want to chair on a cipher that's being decoded. I saw that this Arms Factory one, I thought it was like the last cipher here, and it really is. I have already switched to teleport, so I really need to lock down on this cipher if I want to avoid having that final cipher pop. So they get a free rescue kind of from that stun, but I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna try to also get some additional progress on this postman here. Again, I'm trying to go like super aggressive mode here, because when I play in ranked, I really want to win whenever I can. Now right here, if I do recall, kind of wait for this cooldown to be up, and I try to go for a snipe here. I don't think I succeed because I'm just out of radius to pull it, but I actually timed this like perfectly, and I didn't even know it at the time, but like right before it was primed. So I go ahead and place a tree in this area. I end up losing the survivor for a second, but again, if you lose a survivor, what you can do is you can look for the footprints on the ground. And if survivors aren't aware of their surroundings, like if they're not looking ahead of themselves, a lot of times you can get really fast snipes like that. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I know that based on, I saw that cipher was wiggling and female dancer had like just picked up, so as long as I'm around, nobody should be able to rescue, because they'll need to like heal up first. So hold on, my capture card cut out for a second. I want to make sure it's stable. And here we go, back to the gameplay. And Embalmer gets eliminated here. They go for the final pop. Now, I don't have detention here. So what I need to do is I need to get my way to the gate as quickly as possible. And I am carrying Wanted in this build. I find it's very useful for hunters that sometimes lack a little bit on mobility, because you also get this ability that also allows you to see where survivors are at once the exit gate is popped. Now, I decided to isolate on the postman there. Going for dancers, also perfectly reasonable. Maybe even more so because of the fact that there's no self-heal there. But now that I get this down, I can... My main thing is I just want to contain the survivor. Don't let them escape. I didn't see exactly where it was at, but I wanted to avoid letting him have the exit gate for free, so I go here. What they should have done was maybe go for some kind of body blocking play here. But I just want to block off the gate from him. And I do that just well. Postman goes down, and getting 2 hits on female dancer makes it so that there's no chance for a rescue as well. So that makes this one also a 3K, which is, once again, good enough for rank. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Helps me out a lot. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.